Hello, and welcome to Premier Study and Investing. Hey, what's up, you guys? So welcome back. Hey, I wanted to dedicate this video to all of our friends who have been in and out of the hospital or had just like tough cases. All the drama related to the last couple years. I had personally want to dedicate this video to my friend Heather. She was on 100% oxygen flow, dropped down to 85% oxygen flow. I was really, like many people, waiting for the EUA, and of course it would have been big, but it would have been a lot smarter on my part. Stop limit, buy order, maybe like at $14, or else go ahead and bought in at 13 limit, but put a stop order on that, maybe stop loss at like 10% under that or something. Anyways. So here we are. This is it. And look, I'm not going to do anything super special. There's just been some awesome news that's come out. It came out November 29th, 2021. So you can just go send to the NRXpharma.com, investor relations. And this is a great one, So we're going to check it out. NRX Pharmaceuticals identifies significantly higher likelihood of surviving and recovering from clinical COVID-19 Zyesami Aviptadil treated patients previously administered remdesivir. So remdesivir by Gilead Sciences. Obviously, a lot of people for a long time have just been saying, yeah, it's fully approved. It was made for Zika, I believe. And then, so they knew the safety profile, and that's why it was the first to get EUA, and it was also the first to get full approval as far as the treatment side of things. Anyways, I think it's the NIH we looked at before that is paying for the basically competition between remdesivir and Zyesami, if you want to call it that. Aviptadil, I know it's a contested term, but anyways, let's jump down to this. Okay, so November 29th, what are we looking at? It's basically patients with critical COVID-19 and respiratory failure. Okay, they bring in this doctor, or professor, I should say. Is it Professor David Schoenfeld, one of the world's most widely published statisticians with unique expertise in life-threatening disease of the lung, to conduct the analysis. And here's what he says. He analyzed the subgroups. So we've seen this before. For those of you who have been following this story with Cytidine, they try to bring the FDA a bunch of subgroup analyses and say, hey, this is really great data that we have here for you. And the FDA said this is not sufficient. You cannot run just subgroup analyses, especially with small sample sizes, and expect us to be swayed. So they wrote a pretty harsh response letter to Cytidine. So this is also similar. Analyzed subgroup of patients in the COVID AIV trial in CT 04311697. So you can see that on the clinical trials. If you just punch that in, that's probably all you need to put into Google, and it'll pull up the trial for you. But that remains in respiratory failure to cite treatment with remdesivir. The analysis identified a statistically significant p-value, so less than 0.05. It was 0.03. Which said, this is amazing, 2.5 increased odds of being alive and free of respiratory failure at 60 days. This was the primary endpoints. This is just, great. 2.5-fold increase. That's great. And statistically significant with a p-value of 0.006, so it's less than 1%. Which had a 4-fold higher odds of being alive at day 60 among patients treated with Aviptadil compared to those treated with placebo. So this is, really, really, really good. I'm going to be jumping at the end of this video for the right to try, which is a way that you can get your loved ones or friends in basically access to this treatment, as long as their physician agrees to it. And, of course, there's some other accessibility issues, but I definitely want to show you that, because that's one thing that I think, like if my parents were going to need this or something, or if I was going to need this, I would definitely want to try it. Anyway, baseline treatment with remdesivir was pre-specified as a covariate in the protocol agreed to with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, prior to the initiation of the trial, and remdesivir did not show any independent survival or recovery advantage in the subgroup. Analysis of the remdesivir treated subgroup was a post hoc analysis performed in response to the FDA's request for additional clinical evidence that Aviptadil may demonstrate a substantial improvement over existing therapies. So, yeah, we didn't get our EUA. They shot us down for our EUA, and they said, bring us back more data, and that was a big letdown. This is the reanalysis of clinical data, additionally confirmed the statistically significant p-value, which is good. They reaffirmed that, right? That's awesome. Confirmed it. P-value of 0.03, twofold survival advantage seen across all patients treated with Aviptadil compared to those treated with placebo, and demonstrated an increased odds of reaching the primary endpoint in the study, both being alive and free of respiratory failure at 60 days, that approached statistical significance of p equals 0.08. We want it to be less than 0.05. So this, it's not actually what we'd hope to see here. See what else we have. The FDA recently declined emergency use authorization and breakthrough therapy designation BTD for Zyesami, and invited a new request based on new clinical evidence that Aviptadil may demonstrate a significant improvement in treatment over existing therapies. Based on the FDA's input, NRX has narrowed its requested BTD indication to treatment of COVID-19 respiratory failure in patients who progress despite treatment with remdesivir and other approved therapies. So Dr. Schoenfeld's report concludes, quote, the study provides preliminary evidence that Aviptadil is effective in increasing the odds of recovery and survival from respiratory failure among the sickest COVID-19 patients overall, and particularly in those whose respiratory failure has progressed despite treatment with remdesivir. The study shows a significant increase in the likelihood that patients will recover and leave the ICU, and a fourfold increase in the odds of survival after treatment with Aviptadil compared to placebo among the 127 patients who remained in respiratory failure despite treatment with remdesivir. And they just say, we appreciate the wisdom and insight based on his vast experience with study of acute respiratory diseases such as ours, Professor Jonathan Javitt. So, Professor Jonathan Javitt, he's an ophthalmologist. He's a CEO, you can see here, of NeuroRx. He's been, involved basically handling the... NeuroRx has basically been involved since the beginning, early in this whole story of running the trials in the United States and other places, while it's Relief Therapeutics out of Switzerland. It's a Swiss company that has the patent. Now, one of the big problems with the whole failure, this is for people who don't follow the stock or don't own it at this point. There's been lawsuit filed. I saw just some paperwork even in New York, but basically there was a problem with the buffer, the shelf life. There was a reformulation. There was an argument about, hey, send us the receipts and we'll pay you back for it. Hey, you never sent us the receipts. So there was an agreement between the two companies about, who was going to pay for what and who was responsible for what, and it just got all bungled up. And so it's still bungled up, and it's a mess. Honestly, between the two companies, it's a mess. But the thing is, does the drug seem to work? So, obviously for my money, it does. We've seen other reports come out about, but these are very, very, very sick patients, right? I would say, in my opinion, it's not a silver bullet, it's not a cure-all, but 2.5-fold, 4-fold, these are good numbers, right? With good p-values, depending upon the numbers, and typically the p-values will improve, or it's advantageous to have higher sample sizes. So with only 127 people, this is a fairly small sample size. If you get up to 4,000, something like this, that's a lot, but you know what I'm saying. So here's the last point. Let's talk about how you can get right to try if you or someone needs to get this therapy. Check this out, Aviptadil, right to try for U.S. licensed physicians. So what do they basically say? Pre-approval access to investigational medicines policy. They say, we're committed to including patients in need of potentially life-saving cures in our development program at the earliest opportunity. And it goes on, it talks about some of the details. It says Aviptadil, right to try, subject to drug availability. Like I mentioned that, or I mentioned some availability issues, and medical review by NRX Pharmaceuticals. NRX Pharmaceuticals has selected Clinigen to administer the Aviptadil right to try program. All requests for Aviptadil under the Aviptadil right to try program must be made by the patient's treating physician by completing this form. So the physician needs to fill it out, the name, last name, email, your cell phone, and then check a box. I'm a U.S. licensed physicians or one of these other categories, okay? And then they submit it. So this is how you can get your name in, for your loved ones. Maybe you need to have some kind of, maybe for your spouse, maybe you have a power of attorney if it's for, your elder mother or father, somebody like that, or of course kids, but typically, older people. So I think most of us at this point are just saying, hey, I'm at such a loss, like there's no point in selling now, right? If you're down 75%, either you basically, once you're down, who is it? Sprott. That guy made all his money on a uranium play, I think in the 90s, and he basically was down like 90% on his position. And he said, either I'm wrong or I'm right. And if I'm right, then I got to buy this stuff up like crazy. And that's basically, now he owns like multiple funds, uranium and gold, and mostly gold, but I guess they launched a new uranium ETF as well. So anyways, it's something like this. So that's all for this one, but thanks so much for joining me, and all right, good luck to all except the shorts is what we like to say. Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.